some top headline stories on Aspheric. If you're joining for the first time, please do not forget to follow us on our social media handle. And our social media handle are displayed there on the screen. Facebook is on official Aspheric, and on our Instagram page is on Aspheric News. Then our Twitter page is also Aspheric News. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Aspheric TV. Then also do not forget to read more about Aspheric and www.asphericnews.com. And I repeat, www.asphericnews.com. I want to thank you for having time to join us today. And with me in the studio will remain Alhaji Abdul Malik Mustafa. Alhaji, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. How are you doing today?
I'm fine.
All right. So there are several stories coming out from the newspaper headlines.
Yeah,
some are
very interesting,
and some are also part of the new regulations that are happening in Nigeria, especially the comment from the presidential candidate of OPC yesterday, and other comment coming out. And according to him, he reacted in and said that some of the recent crises aimed at stopping him. So one would wonder what that would look like. But for me, before we go into that story, let's go to Punch newspaper. In Punch newspaper headline, we have federal government budgets 1.2 trillion to service CBN loans. Federal government budgets 1.2 trillion to service CBN loans. Banks, reactions, new notes, Amefile, shunt reps. And we also have voting article will be mistake, says whistleblower. We saw on the top headlines on the newspaper says recent crisis aiming at stopping me, Tinubu. Recent crisis aimed at stopping me, Tinubu. Says naira the redesigned fuel scarcity designed to scuttle polls. Tinubu trying to blackmail Buhari Atiku campaign. Allegations unfair fuel crisis penal said marketers. And we also have a sad news yesterday, and that is on coming from Ogun State.
Yeah.
Ibaz Ohanes Zemon Abia PDP governorship candidate, the governorship candidate of PDP, it passed out yesterday. We also have the parties back UK visa ban on election riggers. Let's just look at the loans, 1.2 trillion service loan from CBN.
From CBN, no. Well, and the truth is that the Nigerian economy is ailing, and it's largely dependent on loan, on borrowing, both internal borrowing and external borrowing. No matter how the size of the economy, or no matter how advanced the economy of any nation is, certainly you must borrow. Even America borrow. But in our own case here, what are we borrowing for? In most cases, we borrow to service recurrent expenditure and not capital expenditure. If you borrow for capital expenditure, it means that you are building an infrastructure, a legacy project, whereby those projects will live for over 100 years. Take for instance, if you borrow to fund railway project, it means that you are creating an enabling environment whereby other economic activities will take place. It will be like a springboard to some other economic activities. Well, now, federal government is saying, okay, we are budgeting over 1 trillion to service the loan that they took from the CBN, through the CBN. Recall that the CBN through some other commercial bank, they loan to the CBN, and the CBN back to the federal government. It's really unfortunate that we are borrowing. And one aspect of this borrowing is that we continue to spend much more money to service the debt, and we continue to borrow. It means that it's like when you are carrying a load, instead of you to offload the load, more load is still adding on to you, which is unfortunate. But another fact that we must deal with in this regard is that government does not wake up to just go and borrow because of borrowing sake. They are borrowing because there is deficit in the revenue. And since there is deficit in the revenue, how do we overcome this deficit? That is the question that Nigerians must have to deal with. Because Oftentimes people talk about say this administration is borrowing. But if they don't borrow, how do they overcome the deficit? Because if you look at it critically, when government said okay, 2023 budget is pegged at 24 trillion, that 24 trillion, it's only 11 trillion that is coming from the revenue. The other part is now deficit. How do the government overcome that deficit? And that is why government must borrow.
All right, so can we look at the reactions by the presidential candidate of APC?
It's really unfortunate that a presidential candidate of a ruling party is coming out, it's crying out, saying, look, the recent activities, particularly he said the recent activities regarding the oil fuel scarcity and the redesigning of naira that is aimed at scuttling his ambition. It's really sad that the ruling party is coming out it shows that the ruling party is not in order, because the present administration is the ruling party. The presidential candidate too is coming from the same party, All Progressive Congress, and he's saying that look, the recent activities, the policies of the government of recently that is Nigerians are battling with, Nigerians are currently grappling with fuel scarcity, the designing of the naira that is aimed at scuttling his ambition. This is unfortunate. Certainly Nigerians are reading meaning into it, and I too, I have my own opinion regarding that. My opinion is that all is not well with between the president and his team and the presidential candidate of the APC. Probably, if you allow me, I will say, look, that APC did not manage the internal politics within the party. How do they manage it? You will now discover that the primary election was not conducted in a way that create that unity between whoever emerged the winner and the other contestants that are contested. And now we have Tinubu now crying out that look, the recent activities of the government is targeted at him, that he is the main target. Okay, let's look at it now. The President Muhammadu Buhari now insisting that look, the 31st of January deadline for exchange of the naira, that it will still stand. And he cited something that said, look, that if politicians that stashed away the local currency, that they are thinking to use that to decide the coming election, that they are just wasting their time. It means that, so if you look at it critically, probably the presidential candidate of APC
and the problem, the time frame is too short for you to pack. If you for example, if you have like 1 billion, 2 billion,
2 billion to change it.
So not just to change now. For you to pay that into the account, it will reflect. And you have to get different people's account numbers.
Based on what it is now, based on the electoral, the amended financial regulation that guide the government, nephew by nephew, any money that is above 5 million, the banks should report to them, and the EFCC too. So when that money is, how do you get that money?
So how claiming somebody that should 20 million and can't reflect in your account?
It will reflect, and EFCC and nephew, they will know about it, that look, this money, this is how it goes. You see, this thing, there's a transparency behind this thing. If you say, okay, Dr. Israel, if you are a businessman, EFCC will certainly know that you have a business. You understand? And if there's any money that is coming into you, it's not like something that overnight something will just come and just fly from nowhere and just reflect just like that. So if Tinubu is crying out that look, the government, it means that the party is fighting him. It means that the government is fighting him. So that is what it means.
And are you a member of the party?
Well, from his statement, he made that statement.
But presidents make a comment that Tinubu will win therefore yesterday. Why is he making?
These are just a mere statement. It's just like
it's
just like if I decide to say, okay, Dr. Israel, you take this. But the processes to it, that is where Tinubu is looking at it now. Let's look at it critically. Nigerians are suffering fuel scarcity now. In a saner climb, people will now take into consideration to say, look, this is the present government, and this is what we are passing through. If the present party, the ruling party, is now coming out to say, okay, look, give us our vote, on what basis are we going to give them their vote? That is the question now, and that is why you see Tinubu is crying out, because to him now he believes that government creates artificial problem, artificial suffering, to make sure that Nigerians did not vote for him. That's what he's saying.
All right, so the next on our newspaper review will be on the Vanguard newspaper. Thank you very much, Alhaji Mustafa, on our Vanguard newspaper. So let's look at the Vanguard newspaper. We still have on the Vanguard newspaper, fuel scarcity, naira redesign plot to sabotage pool. That's from Tinubu. Over 70 killed in Nasarawa, Niger airstrike explosion. That will happen. That was actually yesterday. So we're also going to talk about that. How to fight inflation by NESG, OPS, other stakeholders. Down page 8, we have NJC okay appointment of 84 new judge, 9 head of courts. Rep to security agencies arrest oil marketers behind fuel scarcity. Pool, US announces visa ban on Nigerians undermining democracy. Let's look at that. The ban that they released yesterday from the US government, saying that some few Nigerians will not be allowed to travel to the US on election violence. And let's look at that. Also compare that to what happened to America last 3 years. Last 2 years. 2020 years. So let's look at that. What do you really think? So you are restricting Nigeria, and also according to their statement, said they might be including their family members.
Yes. When you are making reference to the incident in January 16 in the US, recall that the US House of Assembly, till this very moment, they are still investigating Trump because of that incident. So America, what they are saying is that, let's not forget that they are the global police that enforce both human rights aspect and some other aspect too. So what they are saying is that if you are a Nigerian, a well-placed Nigerian, let's assume that a governor of a particular state, you decide to fuel a crisis or a violence against your opposition, and because of election, you will be considered as a persona non grata that will enter US. It means that you will not have their visa, let alone to travel to US. You understand? That is what it means. That is what they are saying. To us, it deepens our own democracy. They are assisting us to do what we're supposed to do. Because here, you could hear a particular governor or a particular politician making an inflammatory statement which is capable of causing mayhem. Take, for instance, like in River State, where the governorship candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Pastor Toyeko, just days ago, he came out, he called on President Muhammadu Buhari to declare state of emergency in River State because of activities of Governor Nyesom Wike. These are the kind of things that America is coming out to deal with. And let's bear it in mind that, look, the American embassy here, they are the one monitoring the activities of politicians, well-placed politicians, and even governors and public officials that contribute to electoral violence. And that is what they are saying. To us, it's commendable because they are trying to assist us to do what we're supposed to do. If you I will continue to use the example of Governor Nyesom Wike, because this is one state whereby violence happened during election often and often. In 2015, a lot of persons were killed in Rivers. Until today, the governor didn't deem it right to say, okay, he will institute a panel of inquiry, let alone to punish the offenders. So that apart. Then you now have just 2 weeks ago or a week ago, there was a bomb incident or a dynamite incident in one of the APC campaign. And these are part of the processes. And if America is now saying that, look, Governor Nyesom Wike, if you go beyond this and cross this red line, you will be found wanting. That is what they are saying. So to us, it's commendable. If they assist us to do that, we should commend them.
So can we also look at the airstrike in Nasarawa State and also in Niger? Sorry, is Nasarawa and Niger, boundary between Nasarawa and Niger. So, and also the of the appointment of the NJC.
The incident in Niger and now Nasarawa is really unfortunate, really sad one. This is not the first time. The last time we had something like that, it happened in somewhere in Borno, whereby the people alleged that Nigerian Air Force jet bombed innocent people, bombed the locals. And now we are now having the one in Niger. It's being reported that vigilante group gathered while they were performing their work, and the unidentified jet now bombed them and killed them. Then you now have headsmen too in Nasarawa now announcing that, look, they were being bombed by like that. It's too many. Well, the fact is that Nigeria Air Force will not just carry their jet and go over to the sky and start bombing people. They are being they conduct their air expenditure based on intelligence report from people around. So probably people that gathered and they now assume as if they are terrorists. That is why it's happened like that way. It's really sad. I believe Nigeria Air Force will investigate and come out with their report very soon. So let's just wait for that.
Next to discuss this morning will be on Daily Trust newspaper. So let's look at the Daily Trust newspaper. In Daily Trust newspaper, you will see a picture on the Daily Trust newspaper with like doing a mass burial.
Yeah, mass burial.
Actually, having a mass burial and a photograph. But the top headline, we'll see one interesting story there. Bandit reject 5.3 million old naira notes in Kaduna, says deadline approaching. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
So Jeff 5.2 million has sent about the president. So also have used vehicle import crash 40% with customs pollution scheme. 20th Daily Trust Dialogue hold in Abuja. That had to do with the program. So 38 headers killed in Nasarawa. Right, we'll discuss about that already. So let's look at the bandit rejecting 5.3 million naira.
Well, it shows that already we are beginning to reap benefit of this redesigning of the naira. What is telling us now is that kidnapping and paying of ransom is not longer lucrative as it used to be before now. Because the bandit will now say, okay, pay so amount of money. When they ask to say pay so amount of money, I believe with this scarcity of the naira, certainly people will still be paying the ransom in the old currency. And the bandit now are now rejecting that kind of money. It means that through this policy, banditry is now being tackled headlong. It's good. At least CBN now will commend itself to say, look, this effort, this singular policy alone has been able to bring kidnapping to various minimal level. That is what it means.
All right, so can we look at Vanguard, the Guardian newspaper? The Guardian newspaper will have almost just speak so interesting stories on the Vanguard. We've discussed already the comment by the APC candidates. Yes, on the Vanguard we have crisis in Rivers depend as destruction of campaign billboard escalate. That will be found in page 28. In page 28, we also have Red form as rescheduled meeting with CBN on naira redesigned, and doesn't killed in Nasarawa, Benue, Niger border airstrike, bomb blast. U.S. announces visa ban on Nigerian undermining pool democracy. Senate ignore consideration passage of 22.7 trillion ways and means. Can we just look at the River story and rescheduled meeting with the CBN governor? Because it was yesterday the first day. Yeah, the Senate National Assembly ordered him to extend the deadline,
of which he
insisted that not going back on the deadline. And also, if you watch during their apex meeting, that was 4 days ago, CBN governor mentioned one particular online that usually increase the dollar rate. And is it first, something like that? I'm trying to get the name of that online that usually fix dollar rate. And the question he asked, how will one person live in London and also fix dollar rate? Look at all of that. I have so much story to discuss. Let's go.
Well, the Rivers scenario is one pathetic one in the sense that the opposition parties in Rivers, both of them, is like they are crying out. You have the Accord Party, SDP, APC, and other political parties. They are now complaining that the ruling party within the state, which is the PDP, that they are trying to muzzle all other political parties so that there will be no election in 2023. That is what it means. That both of them are making reference to this executive order issued by the state governor. That the executive order gave the PDP the opportunity to destroy their billboard whenever the billboard are being erected. And even the venue where political parties rally is supposed to take place, that venues are not approved for them. So once that's it's like laying the foundation for crisis. That is why they are blaming and calling on the state governor. It's really sad that if the governor of the state decide to like create an atmosphere that promotes anarchy, it means that he is not the kind of person that is like positioning himself to be like a democrat or civil, the way he's trying to position himself. Because the beauty of multi-party system is when you allowed other political parties to partake and participate in various, both the electionary campaign and in the election itself. But the situation now in Rivers is completely a different one. Only days ago, just like I said before, the governorship candidate of APC came out. He wrote a lengthy complaint against the Rivers State government and the governor himself. He cited a lot of references regarding to incidents that happened in Rivers, and he called on President Muhammadu Buhari to declare state of emergency within the state. It's really sad. Then the other part, which is the rep film over rescheduled meeting with CBN governor on over the redesign of naira. It's obvious that the CBN governor and the government of the federal government, they are on the same line, while the legislature and Nigerians are on the same line. When the CBN governor is still insisting that look, the 31st January will still stand, it means that Nigerians now have days to the expiration of the old currency note. The National Assembly, they are now trying to like put into to be on the part of Nigerians, whereby a lot of Nigerians up to now they are still keeping their old currency. It means that if CBN now effect that 31st January, a lot of people will lose their money. That is what it means. But CBN have to do a lot. They have to like take into consideration the people living in rural area where there are no bank services. If they should effect that, it means they will lose their money. Instead of that, they should look into this into consideration and to do at least give that extension, even if it's 2 weeks or a month extension. They should put to do that.
All right, thank you so much. Let's look at the Nation newspaper. In the Nation newspaper, we have how African can banish foods and insecurity by President Buhari. That is what he said yesterday in the program, the transmitted yesterday. Bomb blast killed 51 in Nasarawa. Impeachment, Ekiti courts order parties to file process. U.S. land visa ban on enemies of democracy. No cash supply at ATM point over scarcity of notes. The headline about Tinubu and all that, we've already discussed that already. But let's look at those plotting to deal with me won't win elections here in UK.
Well, it's really I don't. It's obvious that Wike is refusing to back down, because if you look at the other members of the G5, the so-called G5 governors, it's like they have been quiet all this while, at least for the last 2 weeks they have been quiet. It's only Wike that keep on talking. So, and if he's coming out to say, look, that those people that are planning to deal with him, they will lose the election, to me it's more laughable. There's still more time. He should mend his way. If he's foreseeing that, look, if he's seeing some people as his enemy, that he believe that if they win election, they will deal with him. What if they didn't win election, and what if he did not win election too? So it means that as a governor of the state, he should be a governor for all, not a governor to say, okay, every time he's blowing hot, and he believe that he's fighting some people. No, he should live above that. He should live like a statesman. He should be, by his right as a governor of the state, he's already a statesman.
Okay, so this Daily Sun newspaper. Let's look at this Sun newspaper. PDP to conduct fresh primaries as Abeokuta candidate dies. Igbazo approved flag to fly at half most. Suspend campaign till Monday. naira redesign fuel scarcity plot to sabotage election. Tinubu urge electorate to defy scarcity and vote for him. Buhari support for Tinubu unquestionable. Presidential reply. That's good. So we also have Kumuyi Catholic Bishop advised Nigeria on election. Let's look at the policy, the Electoral Act, the recent Electoral Act,
and the incident in
Abia. So what do you see now? The fact that the governance is on the G5, exactly. So it's actually not fully with the PDP. And those that will conduct these primaries will come from the national.
Yes.
How to create a 5-man committee to conduct these primaries. What do you expect that will happen in Abia State, and how would it do the replacement?
Well, if you want to look at it from the infighting within PDP, national PDP, and the state and the activities of the governor, the most arrowhead of the G5 governors is the governor of Rivers State. Ikwazu, I don't think Ikwazu is taking his own against whatever grievances he has with the national body of PDP. I don't think he's taking his own like the PDP, Governor Nyesom Wike is taking his own. So he will take into consideration the interests of the party within the state, because as a sitting governor of the state and someone who is vying to go into the Senate under the party, his own interest too is at stake too. By the time he decides to do whatever Nyesom Wike is doing in the Rivers and do it in Abia PDP, it means that it will affect him. So at the end of the day, now the Electoral Act stipulates that if election is held and before the swearing in and the winner dies, it means the running mate will take over. But in this case now, election was not held and the candidate died, and when he died, he still give that room to the party 14 days to organize another primary election. That is what it means. Eventually they will organize that and I believe that Governor Ikwazu, who is the leader of the party within the state, he will sync his interest with that of the national body, because he doesn't have anything. He has something to lose. By the time he didn't allow internal democracy to take place within the party for a replacement. The aim of every governor in our own Nigeria climate here is for them to choose who replace them. Ordinarily, if you work very well, you don't care. All it matters to you is conduct a free and fair election so that whoever succeeded you just go like that. But in this case here, that is not the case. So I believe that Ikwazu will allow a credible election to internal primary election again to hold, and for who will fly the flag in the coming election.
All right, thank you so much. In case you are joining us for the first time, do not forget to follow us on our social media handle. Our social media handle are displayed out there on this screen. We have official Aspheric, that is on our Facebook page, Aspheric News on our Instagram, Aspheric News on our Twitter page. Do not forget to call us and SMS to our WhatsApp page on +234 99998117 +234 99998117. We want to read more about our stories, breaking news. Do not forget to read more about our stories at www.asfericnews.com. I repeat, www.asfericnews.com. Thank you so much for joining us today, and bye until we meet again. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.